A cop's unrelenting search for a suspected killer turns up the clue he was waiting for. And young gymnasts who risk their lives in pursuit of Olympic gold on A Current Affair right now. It was a crime that shocked a city. A young doctor, husband, and expectant father gave of himself until someone took his life. All for $5. But now, 14 years later, a cop who never forgot and never gave up could bring justice to a family.
To contact that family and say to them, we got the bad guy, there isn't any greater satisfaction that any investigator can get.
It's the most popular sport of the Olympic Games, where the competition is fierce.
Sure, it's tough to, push yourself, but I know that that's what I have to do to be the best.
But the sport of grace and beauty has an ugly side to it.
You stepped on a scale every day, which was a constant reminder that you're failing, you're failing, you're failing, you're not where you should be.
Today on A Current Affair, when life on the mat is out of balance. Plus, from Planet Hollywood's wardrobe collection to the Chinese theater's most memorable moments, our Nancy O'Dell has a little bit of Hollywood that left a big impression in history.
And she says to Jane, why don't you just lean over in the cement and I'll sit in the cement.
Hello, I'm John Scott. Welcome to A Current Affair. They pursue the perfect body and the perfect score to reach for Olympic gold. But behind the dream lies a harsh reality for some young gymnasts. That investigation later. But first, in the movies, the cops always get their man. In real life, things aren't always so simple. But Detective Jerry Giorgio proves that perseverance pays off. When a young doctor was killed in 1981, Giorgio swore he'd solve the crime. It took him more than a decade, but now, as Bill McGowan reports, he may finally see justice done.
I've heard people say it's the type of case that we can't allow people to get away with doing this or committing this type of crime.
For veteran New York City Police Detective Jerry Giorgio, the 1981 murder of Dr. John Wood was much more than just case number 1944. In a city laced with unthinkable crime, this was the unforgivable, a life taken from someone dedicated to preserving life.
This is a doctor, a pediatric surgeon, no less, a person who was going to help young people, a person who had hands of gold. He had that magical touch. I mean, I've heard so many different adjectives to describe, John Wood.
The one word no one ever wanted to use to describe John Wood was victim. But on an autumn evening 14 years ago, Dr. Wood was walking back to Columbia Presbyterian Hospital in New York City when he was approached by two muggers. Shortly before 9 o'clock, Dr. Wood was fatally shot. Before leaving the scene, the assailants removed from John Wood's wallet $5.
They rushed him into the OR, and later on, actually, I found out that the people on staff, when they wheeled Dr. Wood in, they looked, and it's John, rushed him into the crash room. It was described to me that the tears were running down their eyes as they were working on John in their efforts to save his life.
The New York media turned the doctor's death into a front-page tragedy, making Dr. Wood's widow, Diana, the subject of unwanted attention. When her husband was killed, Diana was 5 months pregnant with their child.
It was very dramatized. I mean, I was characterized as the pregnant widow. There was an article in Esquire about how everybody would go on with their life and I would go back to my sorry little life, and, which was alone now.
Nothing could have been further from the truth. Diana certainly wasn't alone, not after the birth of John Chase Wood III. And what did she do with her so-called sorry little life? Well, as a single mom, she got herself through med school and became a doctor herself. As little John grew up, his mother told him everything about the father he never knew. Everything except who was responsible for taking him away. Did you sort of assume that the investigation would receive a certain amount of attention and then go to the back burner?
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. And it did go to the back burner, but I didn't realize there was someone that was constantly peering into the pot.
By 1994, Detective Giorgio was the only cook left in the broth, compiling clues like a master chef gathers ingredients. His motivation for sticking with the investigation was both professional and deeply personal.
I had a very special place in my heart for Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. I had a child that was born who had water on the brain. He underwent 3 very, very serious surgical procedures, brain surgery. First doctor said his prognosis was he wouldn't live to be a year old. My son is now 29 years old. You know, they did a great job. So, did I have a special interest? I think so. He was a pediatric surgeon. You know, my son, you know, it's got to be a connection there somewhere.
3 months after the murder, Detective Giorgio strongly suspected that Raynard McDowell killed Dr. Wood. McDowell was serving 10 years for his involvement in another homicide. But year after year, the case remained too weak to also arrest him for the Wood murder. Reports taken from informants were too unreliable to be considered strong evidence. But in 1993, McDowell was once again arrested and brought in on attempted murder, robbery, and weapons charges. It was then Detective Giorgio got another shot at interrogating his prime suspect.
I said, you know what we're going to talk about? He says, yeah, I'm going to talk about the doctor, right? He knew. He knew. He knew. He knew that I knew, let's put it that way. He decided to talk to me. Did he admit shooting this doctor? No. But fortunately, well, it was a statement that certainly reinforced my feeling about him being involved. You know, he lied. As far as I'm concerned, he lied. But he had some knowledge about the case. All of a sudden now he had...
That he couldn't have known had he not been there.
Exactly.
Then Detective Giorgio found 2 people who would incriminate McDowell. And on July 29, 1994, he arrested Raynard McDowell for the 1981 murder of Dr. John Wood. After more than a dozen discouraging years, Detective Giorgio finally closed this chapter of his casebook. A triumphant moment that was a long time in coming. McDowell was charged with Dr. Wood's murder and now sits behind bars awaiting trial. A trial that should take place sometime next year.
Oh, they're bringing him out. They're bringing him out. Tate.
For Giorgio, the arrest means so much more than just removing a case from the file cabinet filled with frustration. It means hope and the restoration of faith for those who may need it most.
It makes a big difference for Johnny that the case is solved. I'm very grateful that Jerry spent all this time trying to solve the case. The reason why it's news now is because it restores everybody's faith that there are people that do care that crimes like this are solved.
And although McDowell's trial could always result in his acquittal, Detective Giorgio believes he's got the right man. And for him, it was worth the wait.
Of course, it's a great satisfaction to me, personal, to solve a case like this. But to contact that family and say to them after 5 or 10, 18 years, we got the bad guy. We got the guy that did this to your wife, your son, your mother, your father. There isn't any greater satisfaction that any investigator can get. Really, none.
When you retire, what do you think solving this case is going to mean to you?
X number of people, friends and relatives of Dr. John Chase Wood, can lay their heads on the pillow and go to sleep and not have to think those SOBs got away with killing John.
Detective Giorgio has vowed to bring to justice anyone responsible for Dr. Wood's death. He's arrested a second suspect, Darrell Whitley, as an accomplice to murder, and both men have now pleaded not guilty. There's much more to come as A Current Affair continues. Memories of Hollywood's golden age and the stars who left a lasting impression in our minds. And next, they dream of winning the gold at any cost. Now, Olympic star Kathy Rigby speaks out about the dangers of life in the balance.
If you're standing on the victory stand with a gold medal around your neck and you are a loser at living, I don't think that's very balanced.
Their delicate bodies float through the air with effortless precision, creating a ballet of form and control. Every year, young gymnasts pursuing their dream of winning a gold medal undertake the rigorous training required for Olympic competition. Right now, young hopefuls are preparing for the Summer Olympics to be held in Atlanta this July. But there is increasing criticism of the system that trains these young girls. As Mary Garafello reports, we may be pushing them too hard.
We watch in amazement as they balance their elf-like bodies with precision and grace and propel themselves effortlessly through the air. But at the elite levels of competition, perfect bodies can help earn perfect scores. And young gymnasts dedicated to a life of grueling training and extreme discipline are also focused on maintaining their bodies in petite form. The pursuit of medals can cost tiny gymnasts their health and even their life.
Sure, it's tough to, push yourself, but I know that that's what I have to do to be the best.
From the time she was a small child, Christy Henrich had one dream in sight: Olympic gold medals. But at the age of 15, she just missed out on competing at the Olympics. And around that time, a judge gave Christy criticism that may have led to her death.
The judge told her that if she wanted to make the Olympics, she needed to lose a few pounds.
Christy was only 4'10" and 95 pounds. She soon became a victim of both anorexia and bulimia. At one point, she dropped all the way down to just 47 pounds, half her former body weight. Dale Brindle is a sports editor in Independence, Missouri, Christy's hometown.
She felt pressure, from coaches and from judges in general in order to be slim, and that was a factor in her eating disorder.
In July last year, at the age of just 22, Christy, at a weight of 61 pounds, died. Some blame immediately fell on Christy's former coach, Al Fong. But he refuses to accept responsibility for pressuring Christy into dramatic weight loss.
It's easy to blame Al Fong for her death, for her eating disorder. We've never had any regulation of weight here in this gym. She was driven. She knew exactly what she wanted, but it was not me driving her, it was her driving her.
In 1976, the average female competitor was 5'3" and 105 pounds. In 1992, the average height dropped to 6 inches shorter and the weight to 17 pounds lighter. Sports psychologist Dr. Eric Marganeau says that it's time alarm bells were sounded throughout the world of gymnastics.
I think gymnasts are more vulnerable to eating disorders than other athletes, partially because of the inherent aspect of physical appearance.
The first American finalist in a world championship.
Olympic medalist Kathy Rigby fought a 12-year battle with anorexia and bulimia. When her body developed during puberty, her self-image was shattered.
I went from about 90 pounds to 103. And it was a crisis in my life. And at that point, people were saying that I was over the hill. You stepped on a scale every day, which was a constant reminder that you're failing, you're failing, you're failing, you're not where you should be.
At 14, Kathy hardly ate during rigorous training sessions, preparing for the 1968 Olympics.
That was our choice, but that was our choice, my choice, because I knew that they wanted me at 89 pounds.
Looking back, Kathy believes she felt pressured by the high expectations of her family, her trainers, and herself.
I really get upset with coaches today and people today who should know better. They've heard the horror stories of the past, and they continue to train in the same way with fear and guilt and intimidation.
But what will prevent more aspiring competitors from starving themselves for a medal? Dr. Eric Marganeau believes the only solution is intervention.
Now a tragedy has taken place. You can no longer hide behind the fact that this is a potential problem.
As Kathy Rigby knows from her own battle with eating disorders, the problem is real. She hopes to help others by alerting young athletes to the vicious trap that can come with the love of gymnastics.
If you're standing on the victory stand with a gold medal around your neck and you are a loser at living, I don't think that's very balanced. I don't think that I would want that for my children. It may look good for the moment, but it's only a momentary gain, positive thing in your life. You have to live the rest of your life.
So sad. The USA Gymnastics Federation says it is aware that eating disorders among young Olympic athletes are a serious problem. It recently announced the formation of a task force made up of coaches, psychologists, nutritionists, and former athletes to search for solutions. Still ahead on A Current Affair, from Planet Hollywood to Grauman's Chinese Theater, memories of the stars who made a lasting imprint in Hollywood history.
She looked over and said, well, you know, both of us are much better known for other parts of our anatomy. Why don't you just lean over in the cement and I'll sit in the cement.
Tomorrow on the new A Current Affair, who's the culinary queen that some are calling the Black Martha Stewart? Each year, tourists flock to Hollywood to catch a glimpse of their favorite stars and to remember the stars of Hollywood's golden age. Entertainment reporter Nancy O'Dell takes us on a tour down memory lane. Nancy?
Don, well, when you think about the good old days, you think about Hollywood starlets, movie moguls, and big film studios. Well, today, those fond memories are in hot demand. So let's jump in our 56 Cadillac Coupe de Ville and head way back. The 1930s and 40s were a golden age for the silver screen, with lavish movie premieres lighting up the night on Hollywood Boulevard. Our first stop, Hollywood's most famous landmark, the Chinese Theater. This is Mecca for millions of movie fans. They come here for memories of the stars, saved forever in cement.
Hello, ladies. How are you? Where are you from?
Belgium. Belgium.
I love Belgium.
Johnny Grant is Hollywood's honorary mayor. He presides over most of the celebrity ceremonies and told me the hand and footprint tradition started way back in 1927 with a dog named Zorro that belonged to movie star Mary Pickford.
She got out of the car and the workmen were putting in a new cement driveway. Zorro jumped out and ran in the cement. The workmen were trying to kill the dog with their shovels. They were all upset. And she's yelling, no, 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 no. We'll have little Zorro with us for life. His footprints will be in our driveway.
Johnny walked me all over the patio area and had a story for every square foot. Like the time Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell were honored for their movie, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes.
And I worked at it all around the clock.
Jane confirmed this just recently. She said that Marilyn looked over to her. She's a little devilish anyway, Marilyn. And she looked over and said, well, you know, both of us are much better known for other parts of our anatomy than our feet and our hands. And she says, why don't you, to Jane, why don't you just lean over in the cement and I'll sit in the cement.
Oh, no. Well, where are those imprints?
They talked them out of it.
And Hollywood memories also come to life at Musso and Frank's, the city's oldest restaurant. They've been serving the stars since 1919, and Manuel's been making their Caesar salads for over 40 years.
Oh, this is the trick about, because this is the egg you gotta coddle. So you gotta coddle the egg. You gotta coddle. Oh, wait a minute, don't drop it. Ah, no.
He's served a lot of celebrities, but told me he has one big regret.
I would have loved to have served Marilyn Monroe, because that might have been a challenge.
A lot of those old stars are gone now, but today thousands of people connect with them at places like Planet Hollywood, where old costumes on the walls bring back memories of Red and Scarlet from Gone with the Wind.
Don't be angry, Scarlet. Tell me, where are you going?
Or Judy Garland as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz.
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
Now for an idea of just how profitable nostalgia is, consider this. The Planet Hollywood restaurant chain with those old-time props and costumes on the wall will serve 35 million customers this year. Not bad for what's basically a burger joint. Well, John, that's it from the West Coast. I'm out of here, off into the sunset.
Nice wheels. Thanks, Nancy. We'll be back in a moment with the youngest preaching sensation on the circuit. Sean Walters could be a Hollywood child star. He can sing and dance up a storm, but he's not playing a part for the camera. As Leslie Roberts found out, Sean answers to a higher authority.
The devil can't stand what's going on. He can't stand the power of Jesus.
Michael Sean Walters, all 4'10" of him, is on a mission from God. He is the hottest ticket on the traveling ministry circuit.
When God gets a hold of me, I just can't be still. I just can't be still. It's something.
This pint-sized preacher, Sean as his parents call him, has been spreading the word almost as long as he's been able to talk. Sean officially became a man of the cloth, well, a boy of the cloth, in 1989, when he was ordained by the Love Cathedral United Christian Church in Cleveland, Ohio, at the ripe old age of 8, and he hasn't stopped preaching since.
Because God is with you, and the devil can't do nothing to you when Jesus is on your side.
And when I get on the pulpit, I'm a total changed boy. People say I'm like a man in my 30s, the way I preach.
I can feel the supernatural power of Jesus
This night, the congregation couldn't get enough of the mini minister, especially when Sean began the laying of the hands, better known as faith healing.
Lots of souls have been saved in our ministry. It's just beautiful to see somebody saved, because angels rejoice when somebody's saved.
Sean says he wants to be either a preacher or an astronaut when he grows up. Now, here's what we're working on for tomorrow's show.
She's been called the Black Martha Stewart, but B. Smith's cooking up her own recipe for success, and now she's taking on TV. Move over, Martha. Watch the new A Current Affair.
That's Friday on A Current Affair. Thanks for joining us. I'm John Scott. See you tomorrow.